Before the first word of the story unfolds, a voice rises from the shadows, calm yet unignorable, whispering directly to the one who arrived here by accident or by fate. If this message finds you, it is not random. Stay. Listen. Subscribe so you don't lose what you're about to discover, because this might be the only reminder you get today about the purpose you've been avoiding. And as if the darkness around the viewer deepens, the narration begins. There is a moment in every human life when silence feels heavier than noise. A moment when the soul, exhausted by confusion, obligations and invisible battles, begins to whisper questions it had buried for years. Questions about why they are here. About purpose. About what their life was meant to be before distractions, pressure and expectations reshaped their destiny without their permission. Most people ignore these questions. They drown them. They postpone them. They convince themselves that purpose can wait. But it never does. Some choices shape days. Others shape decades. Yet a rare few choices reshape eternity. And what most people don't realize is that the most important choice doesn't happen in a dramatic moment, in a crisis, or in a supernatural experience. It happens quietly. Invisibly. In the unseen room of the inner world. It is the choice to stop running from the truth about who you are and what you were created to become. The world constantly trains the human mind to run, from pain, from responsibility, from calling. It convinces them to chase everything except what actually matters. It is easier to pursue applause than purpose. Easier to repeat routines than confront the deep, uncomfortable honesty required to transform. People avoid the mirror. Not the physical one, but the internal one, the one that reveals compromise, fear, potential and destiny all at the same time. They live as if they have infinite time, unaware that the clock they ignore is silently rewriting their story with every hour wasted. But somewhere, beneath layers of noise, there is a single truth waiting with unshakable patience. Purpose doesn't reveal itself to the distracted. It reveals itself to the awakened. This is where the journey begins. For years, humanity has been conditioned to believe that purpose is discovered externally, through achievements, possessions, validation, comparison. But ancient voices, voices that spoke long before screens existed, warned that the greatest tragedy is not dying. It is dying without ever having lived the life you were meant to live. Before every destiny there is a crossroads, and before every calling there is a silence that demands confrontation. Most people never sit inside that silence long enough to hear anything. They keep themselves busy, entertained, overwhelmed, overstimulated. Not because they lack desire, but because they fear clarity. Clarity exposes everything. Clarity removes excuses. And once you know what must be done, you no longer have the comfort of pretending. Purpose calls every day, but it whispers. And whispers are impossible to hear when your mind is full of noise. The narrator pauses, as if observing the soul of the viewer, tracing the shape of their internal war. He continues with a tone that feels less like explanation and more like revelation. There is a hidden cost to postponing purpose. Every delay deepens a habit of avoiding the life you are supposed to build. Every tomorrow becomes another brick in the wall separating you from destiny. And destiny rarely gives second chances in the way people expect. Opportunity is not patient. Calling is not endless. Even divine purpose will not interfere with the choices you refuse to make. There is a truth most people never hear: the enemy of destiny is not failure. It is distraction. You were not meant to drift. You were not designed to live half awake. Somewhere inside you, there is a blueprint, an assignment, a path that doesn't look like anyone else's. But to see it, you must face the uncomfortable question you've been avoiding: what are you running from? Because every human who feels lost is running from something: fear, doubt, responsibility, identity, commitment, potential. And until you look directly at what you fear, you will never see what you were meant to be. The narrator continues, his tone steady, precise, almost surgical. If you feel stuck, it is not because you lack talent. Nor because you lack calling. It is because you have been giving your strength to the wrong things. You have been feeding distractions and starving purpose. And the life you have right now is the exact result of the choices you've been making, consciously or unconsciously. Destiny is shaped in the smallest moments, not the dramatic ones. The habit of avoidance shapes your identity more than any dream you hold in your mind. This world is full of people who feel empty even though their lives are full. Full of noise. Full of consumption. Full of movement. But empty of direction. Purpose is not found by adding more things to your life. It is found by removing what doesn't belong there. The wrong priorities blur your destiny more than lack of clarity does. Before you discover who you are meant to become, you must first confront who you have allowed yourself to be. And so, the narrator speaks directly, you will never access your purpose until you decide to stop negotiating with your potential. Purpose requires sacrifice. Purpose requires honesty. Purpose requires discipline. It demands that you choose long-term destiny over short-term comfort. It demands that you become someone your future can trust. And this is the choice that changes everything, not an emotional decision, not a motivational moment, but a quiet, internal vow: I refuse to live below the level I was created for. Once this vow is made, even silently, something shifts. Not outside, but within. The mind becomes sharper. The heart becomes quieter. The soul becomes alert. Because purpose begins the moment you stop waiting for permission to pursue it. And here lies the secret no one tells you: purpose is not found, it is decided. And once you decide, the entire architecture of your life rearranges itself around that choice. You begin to notice doors you never saw before. You begin to feel convictions you used to ignore. You begin to experience a tension that pulls you away from distractions and pushes you toward transformation. Destiny doesn't move toward the passive. It moves toward the committed. Something inside you already knows this. Something inside you is tired of drifting, tired of postponing, tired of waking up with the same unresolved weight on your chest. Something in you knows that your future will cost more than your current habits are willing to pay. And yet, here you are, listening. That alone is a sign that the old version of you is losing power. Because no one watches a video like this by accident. Purpose is calling, and you feel it. Not as noise, but as a pressure under your ribs. As a thought that won't leave. As a quiet revolt happening inside your spirit. You know you have been playing small. You know you have been negotiating with your fears. You know you have been living in a way that dishonors the potential you carry. And the truth is simple: the longer you postpone the confrontation, the more painful it becomes to face yourself. But pain is not the enemy. Pain is the signal that transformation is near. The narrator's voice lowers, firm and gentle at the same time. There is a moment coming, very soon, when you will have to choose between the person you have been and the person you were meant to become. That choice will not feel dramatic. It will feel quiet, almost invisible. But it will determine the entire direction of your life. Destiny does not scream, it waits. And it is waiting for your decision. This is the first step. The awakening. The realization. The internal shift. Every great transformation begins here, in recognizing that your future is not determined by fate, by chance, by circumstance, but by the choices you make in the unseen. And now the question returns, heavier, louder, unavoidable. What will you choose? The voice returns as if it never left, slipping through the silence like a thought that refuses to die. The scene doesn't brighten, it deepens. Shadows stretch, the atmosphere thickens, and the narration continues with the weight of someone unveiling truths that most people spend a lifetime avoiding. Every destiny begins with awareness, but awareness alone is useless without confrontation. And confrontation is where most people fall. They want purpose without discomfort. Transformation without sacrifice. Clarity without surrender. But the path to destiny demands something far more difficult. It demands that you stop living as a spectator of your own life. You cannot watch your purpose from a distance. You must step into it, bleeding, afraid, uncertain, but willing. The narrator pauses, almost studying the heart of the viewer, as if measuring their capacity for truth. Purpose doesn't reveal itself to those who remain loyal to their excuses. And the human mind is a master craftsman of excuses. It creates narratives to protect the ego. It invents stories to avoid responsibility. It convinces you that your time has not yet come, that you are not ready, that circumstances must change before you do. But every excuse, no matter how polished, is just a prison disguised as logic. There is a deeper reason people fear choosing their purpose, because choosing purpose means killing the version of themselves that feels safe. And humans cling to safety, even when it suffocates them. They cling to familiar pain rather than face unfamiliar transformation. They cling to routines that drain them because those routines protect them from confronting their deeper calling. But safety is the enemy of destiny. Nothing extraordinary is born in comfort. The narrator's voice sharpens, cutting through the fog. What if the resistance you feel isn't a sign that you are unprepared, but proof that you are standing on the edge of the life you were meant to enter? What if the chaos inside you is not confusion, but a spiritual alarm telling you it's time to rise? People misinterpret discomfort as danger when it is actually direction. Growth always feels like loss at first because every new version of you requires the death of the old one. And death feels like fear. But staying the same has a cost too, a cost far more expensive than change. The price of not changing is living a life that never belonged to you in the first place. The narrator slows, as if delivering a verdict. You already sense the truth, the person you have been is too small for the destiny waiting ahead. And you know it. You've known it for a long time. That's why you feel restless. That's why you feel the pressure in your spirit. That's why distractions no longer satisfy you the way they used to. The life you settled for is collapsing under the weight of the life you are meant to live. This pressure you feel is not punishment. It is preparation. Everyone wants clarity, but very few want the process that produces it. Clarity isn't given, it's carved. It's shaped in the dark moments when you choose discipline over desire, calling over comfort, truth over self-deception. It is built in the moments when no one sees you, when no one applauds you, when no one even knows the battle you're fighting. But purpose always begins in obscurity. Greatness grows in silence before it is seen by the world. The narrator's tone shifts, becoming almost prophetic. If you continue living the way you have been, you will not drift into your purpose by accident. You will drift away from it. Drifting is easy. Discipline is rare. And destiny responds only to the disciplined. Your future requires the version of you that is willing to cut ties with everything that weakens your spirit, unhealthy habits, empty distractions, people who drain your energy, environments that numb your purpose. Because the truth is simple, you cannot carry your old life into your new destiny. Something has to be left behind. The world constantly tells you to find yourself, but you are not meant to find yourself. You are meant to build yourself. Identity is not discovered, it is created through choices, sacrifice, consistency. Every day you are becoming someone, the question is whether you are becoming someone your purpose can rely on. And this is where most people sabotage themselves. They expect transformation to feel dramatic, but transformation is quiet. It begins in the mundane decisions, the ones no one notices, the ones you think don't matter, the ones that seem too small to shape anything significant. But these small decisions create momentum. Momentum creates direction. Direction shapes destiny. The narrator leans in with a whisper that feels both intimate and unyielding. You have been waiting for a sign, but this is the sign. Not the video. Not the words. The fact that something inside you is responding, that is the sign. The fact that your spirit feels called out, exposed, awakened, that is the sign. Purpose is not heard with the ears, it is felt with the soul. There is a moment coming where you will have to choose between the life that is easy and the life that is meaningful. You cannot have both. You cannot cling to comfort and expect destiny to unfold around you. You cannot keep postponing your transformation and expect purpose to chase you. Purpose does not chase. It calls. And only the brave answer. The narrator becomes still, letting the weight of the words settle. You know what you must do. You know the habits that must be broken. You know the distractions that must be removed. You know the version of you that must finally die. You know the truth you have avoided. And the longer you delay these decisions, the more your future decays. Purpose will require everything from you: discipline, vision, courage, sacrifice. But it will give you something far greater in return: the life you were meant to live. The life that will not haunt you with regret. The life that aligns with your soul instead of suffocating it. This is the moment where the shift deepens. Where awareness becomes decision. Where decision becomes action. Where action becomes transformation. And transformation always begins with this realization. You were created for more than survival. You were created for purpose. The silence after the last revelation lingers like smoke in a cold room, and when the narrator speaks again, the voice carries the weight of someone guiding a soul through its own shadows. Nothing softens. Nothing brightens. Instead, the atmosphere grows denser, as if the unseen realm itself were leaning closer. Transformation demands a confrontation with the one adversary people fear more than failure, more than pain, more than the unknown, themselves. Not the version of themselves they present to the world, but the real one, the unfiltered identity that exists beneath performance, excuses, and masks. This inner self, the one you rarely look at directly, is the guardian of your destiny. If you avoid it, you lose everything. If you face it, you evolve into something unrecognizable. The narrator pauses, letting the truth hit with surgical precision. Humans are experts at pretending. They pretend to be fine. They pretend to be busy. They pretend they are trying their best when deep down they know they are operating far below their potential. This pretense creates a spiritual erosion, a slow decay that eats away at purpose. Most people don't notice it until their life feels hollow. Until their spirit feels tired. Until the weight of unfulfilled calling becomes heavier than the distractions they've been using to avoid it. And here lies the brutal truth: the pain you feel is not from failure, it's from the potential you refuse to step into. The narrator's tone sharpens, cutting deeper. Every time you negotiate with procrastination, you weaken the foundation of the life you claim you want. Every time you choose the easy path, you strengthen the identity of someone who avoids responsibility. Purpose cannot coexist with avoidance. Purpose cannot grow in a soul that constantly chooses temporary comfort over long-term destiny. Humans often blame circumstances for their lack of progress. They blame time, opportunity, resources, people. But the narrator exposes the reality without mercy: your biggest obstacle is not external, it is internal. Circumstances influence the path, but your choices determine the outcome. There are people with far less who do far more, not because they are more gifted, but because they refuse to betray their calling for the illusion of comfort. Discipline is not easy. Consistency is not glamorous. Commitment is not exciting. But destiny belongs to those who are willing to become warriors in the unseen. Soldiers of their own purpose. Architects of their own transformation. You cannot control everything around you, but you can control the choices you make every day. And these choices, accumulated over time, form the architecture of your destiny. The narrator slows, the voice sinking deeper, almost whispering. You need to understand something: there is a version of you that already exists in another reality, a version that is stronger, wiser, disciplined, focused, spiritually awake. A version living the life you feel called to live. The only thing separating you from that version of yourself is the set of decisions you make from this moment forward. If you continue making the same choices, you will continue living the same life. Nothing changes if you don't. But if you shift, even slightly, everything shifts with you. Transformation doesn't demand perfection. It demands honesty. Brutal honesty. The ability to admit where you have been weak. Where you have been undisciplined. Where you have been lying to yourself. Not to punish yourself, but to reclaim the authority you've been giving away to excuses. The narrator's tone becomes heavier, firmer. You cannot overcome what you refuse to acknowledge. And the truth is simple, you have been carrying habits that drain your strength. You have been giving your attention to things that subtract from your purpose. You have been allowing fear to speak louder than conviction. And deep down, you know it. But here is the turning point, awareness gives you power. Not emotional power. Not motivational energy. But the kind of power that allows you to take control of your trajectory. You cannot change the past, but you can alter the entire shape of your future with one decisive choice, the choice to stop living as a spectator of your own potential. The narrator continues, the voice now steady as stone. Destiny belongs to those who are willing to do what others refuse to do. To wake up when others sleep. To build when others waste time. To commit when others make excuses. This level of discipline is not normal, and that is exactly why it produces results that are not normal. Purpose requires you to become someone your future can depend on. Your calling cannot be fulfilled by the weaker version of you. The impulsive version. The distracted version. The version controlled by emotions instead of vision. That version must die. Not gradually, but decisively. You must bury the identity that keeps dragging you into delay, fear, and inconsistency. Because until that identity dies, your destiny remains buried with it. The narrator pauses, as if watching the internal war unfold inside you. There is something inside your spirit that wants to rise. Something ancient, something divine, something unstoppable. But it is trapped beneath layers of hesitation. You were never meant to live small. You were never meant to live numb. You were never meant to live disconnected from your calling. The pressure you feel is not a burden, it is the awakening of a warrior. Your purpose is not fragile. It is not distant. It is not unreachable. It is waiting, but it is waiting for someone strong enough to pursue it with unwavering resolve. Someone disciplined enough to protect it. Someone courageous enough to sacrifice for it. The narrator's voice deepens. The next phase of your life will require a different level of commitment, a different level of discipline, a different version of you. Not the one shaped by past failures or external expectations, but the one shaped by destiny itself. The world will not slow down for you. Time will not pause. Opportunity will not wait. If you don't rise now, you risk waking up one day surrounded by regrets too heavy to escape. You are being called. Not softly. Not gently. But with force. With urgency. With purpose. And deep inside, you can feel it. This is the moment in your story where the hesitation breaks. Where the old identity cracks. Where the new version emerges. The transformation is not complete, but the shift is undeniable. You are not the same person who started this journey. And you will not be the same person after what comes next. The atmosphere thickens again, as if the space around the listener is slowly closing in, not to suffocate, but to force focus. No escape. No distraction. No noise left to hide behind. The narrator returns with a tone that feels like a mirror held inches from the soul, revealing what you try not to see. Every transformation reaches a point where reflection alone is no longer enough. Where understanding must turn into action. Where desire must turn into discipline. Where intention must turn into identity. You have reached that threshold now. And it is a dangerous place, because at this threshold, one of two futures begins to form. Either the future you're called to, or the future you settle for. Purpose or regret. Fulfillment or frustration. Growth or decay. There is no middle ground. The narrator continues, slow and intentional, as if weighing every word. Most people never cross this threshold. They stand on the edge of their potential, staring at the life they could have lived, but they never move forward. Fear chains them. Doubt traps them. Comfort sedates them. And time quietly erases every dream they once believed in. People don't lose their purpose overnight, they lose it through 1,000 small compromises. But you are here because something in you refuses to die quietly. Because something in your spirit is rebelling against mediocrity. Because the life you've been living has become too small, too predictable, too disconnected from the fire buried inside you. This inner tension is not random, it is the evidence that your purpose is waking up. And when purpose wakes up, comfort becomes unbearable. The narrator's voice sharpens, dissecting the internal conflict. You say you want change, but wanting is cheap. Everyone wants. Few commit. You say you want growth, but growth demands that you stop choosing what is easy and start choosing what is necessary. You say you want clarity, but clarity requires courage, the courage to let go of the activities, environments, and people who keep you tied to the weaker version of yourself. There is a truth you've been avoiding: you cannot rise while holding on to what keeps you grounded in mediocrity. You cannot evolve while clinging to habits that drain your focus. You cannot experience spiritual elevation while feeding your spirit with distractions that weaken your resolve. Destiny does not negotiate with the parts of you that refuse to grow. Those parts must be confronted. And then they must be cut away. The narrator slows, giving the weight of the message room to settle. You've been living in cycles, cycles of excitement followed by hesitation, cycles of vision followed by procrastination, cycles of clarity followed by distraction. These cycles feel personal, but they're not. They are universal patterns that trap anyone who avoids the discipline required to evolve. And discipline, in its purest form, is not about forcing yourself, it is about freeing yourself. Freeing yourself from chaos. From inconsistency. From the impulses that sabotage your future. From the lies you tell yourself about why you're not moving. Discipline is not punishment, it is liberation. It is self-respect in action. The narrator's tone deepens, as if speaking directly to the places in you that resist. You have potential, but potential means nothing without structure. You have calling, but calling means nothing without commitment. You have spiritual sensitivity, but sensitivity means nothing without stewardship. You want to be chosen by your destiny, but are you becoming the kind of person your destiny can trust? You have the desire. Do you have the discipline? You have the dreams. Do you have the habits? You have the vision. Do you have the consistency? This is where most people fall apart. They underestimate the cost of becoming the person they're meant to be. You cannot rise without sacrifice. You cannot awaken without discomfort. You cannot step into purpose without leaving behind the version of yourself that was built by trauma, laziness, and fear. The narrator lets the silence stretch, then cuts through it like a blade. The life you want will require a level of focus that you have never practiced. It will require protecting your energy with intensity. It will require saying no to everything that weakens your spirit, even when it's familiar, even when it's comfortable, even when it feels safe. Elevation is lonely because not everyone is built for the altitude your destiny requires. But loneliness is not your enemy, stagnation is. You fear losing people, losing habits, losing stability. But what you should fear is losing yourself. Losing your potential. Losing the calling that has been pursuing you for years. Losing the life that was meant to be yours. The narrator speaks with precision. You will not get another version of this moment. This awakening, this pressure, this spiritual stirring, it will not come the same way twice. If you ignore it now, it may take years to return. If you respond to it, everything can shift faster than you imagine. The discomfort you feel right now is not a sign that you're on the wrong path, it's confirmation that you're finally standing at the entrance of the right one. Your soul is not resisting. It's remembering. Remembering the strength you abandoned. Remembering the discipline you once had. remembering the calling you buried under distractions and fear. The narrator lowers the tone, almost whispering. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are awakening. You are being reconstructed from the inside out. And reconstruction always feels like destruction at first. The old identity is crumbling. The old excuses are cracking. The old patterns are collapsing. This is what rebirth feels like. You are not here by chance. You are here because destiny is confronting you. And you cannot walk away unchanged. You are crossing the threshold now, slowly, painfully, but undeniably. And once you cross it, nothing about you will remain the same. And as you step into this final moment of the journey, something inside you already knows there is no returning to who you were before. Because once truth touches a person, it never leaves them the same. It expands. It opens. It awakens. And awakenings are never quiet. They shake you. They call you. They challenge you. That is what is happening inside you right now, a call that echoes from somewhere deep, as if someone is knocking at the door of your soul saying, wake up. Life is moving. By now, you've realized that the real question was never, can I do this? The real question has always been, who will I become once I finally choose to act? And perhaps that's the most important question of your entire existence. Not because someone else will look at you and say they're proud, but because you will look at yourself and finally feel like you're living with intention. Purpose is not a destination. Purpose is alignment. Purpose is a daily decision, the decision to wake up and recognize that your story deserves continuity, that your pain deserves transformation, that your confusion deserves direction. Purpose begins the moment you understand that no one is coming to rescue you, but someone can appear to guide you. And right now, that guidance stands before you, calling you into a beginning that doesn't require perfect strength, only honest willingness. Life waits for no one. It moves like wind, without asking if you're prepared. It simply continues. And many people only notice this truth after they've wasted too much time trying to predict the future instead of shaping it. That is why this moment matters so much. Because if you keep delaying your own transformation, it won't be life that punishes you, it will be yourself. You will look back and realize that what you lacked was never opportunity. It was courage. But courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is a decision. And decisions are what shape destinies. So breathe deeply now. Feel the weight of this moment. Feel the gravity of your own choices. Because the path is forming beneath your feet, and every step you take from this point forward carries the power to rewrite everything. There's a version of you, somewhere ahead, who is stronger, clearer, grounded, and aligned. That version exists. That version is real. And every time you ignore your calling, you're postponing the moment you finally meet them. But every time you take a small step, even a step that feels insignificant, you move closer to the life that has been waiting for you. The truth is simple, nothing will change unless you do. And if you don't take ownership now, life will take the wheel for you. It will drag you into cycles you were never meant to repeat. Pain will become familiar, and comfort will become a cage. That is why this moment is sacred. Because it's one of the rare moments in life where you can choose differently, where you can shift direction, rewrite momentum, and reclaim what you lost along the way. You've been walking with questions. You've been carrying doubts. You've been trying to understand whether your existence has meaning. But you wouldn't be here if you weren't meant to hear this. Yes, your life carries meaning, more meaning than you can imagine. And the reason you feel the pull, the pressure, the internal stirring, is because something inside you recognizes that you haven't yet lived the fullness of who you are capable of being. You've survived moments that were meant to break you. You've lived through storms that should have silenced your spirit. You've seen people leave, opportunities collapse, seasons shift without warning. But you're still here. And being here is not an accident. It's a sign. A reminder. A declaration that your story is not finished. Your spirit remembers what your mind forgets. You are called for more. And every time you silence that calling, you disconnect from the truth beating inside your own chest. But every time you honor it, even with trembling hands, something supernatural aligns around you. Paths open. People appear. Strength rises. This is where your life begins again. Not tomorrow. Not when things make sense. Now. Because there is someone out there who needs the person you are becoming. Someone who will only find their own strength because they saw you rise. Someone who will heal because you chose to heal. Someone who will believe because you chose to believe. That is the power of your transformation, it echoes. And if you ignore this moment, the world loses something it was supposed to receive through you. But if you choose to act, if you choose to step forward, if you choose to claim the life waiting for you, then everything begins to shift. So listen carefully. This isn't just another message. This is a turning point. A hinge in your timeline. A moment heaven has been waiting for you to notice. You have a destiny. You have a calling. You have a purpose that will not let you rest until you embrace it. So let this be the moment you choose differently. Let this be the moment you look fear in the eyes and step forward anyway. Let this be the moment you decide that your future deserves more from you than your hesitation. The world may not understand your awakening. People may question your change. Some may distance themselves from your growth. But none of that matters. Because this journey is yours. This calling is yours. This new beginning is yours. So take a breath. Stand up inside yourself. Make the decision that will shape your destiny. Because your story doesn't end here. It starts now.